Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we are here today on the eve of the release of the Operation Frontier Shield DLC. That, of course, is the DLC that's going to contain Frontier Defense, as well as some glorious, hopefully glorious Scorch buffs, G2 Nerf. We're going to take a look at all that stuff right now, though, because Respawn just launched the patch notes, and I want to start by actually going over the full final price point for the Elite Weapon War Paints and the Limited Edition Titan War Paints. They are quite a bit more steeper than I was expecting, and I don't know just how many people are going to be cashing in on these things when they see the final price point. So there are 8 of these Elite Weapon War Paints in total. You can buy them for $5 a piece or $24.99 for the whole bundle, which will only be available until August 28th. It's a bit steep, guys. I think it's a bit steeper than most of us were expecting, considering in the past we've gotten entire camo bundles for $4.99. Now, I know these are like, oh, actual artwork, but the fact that that suddenly makes them worth like $5 a piece is a bit aggressive. I mean, I can honestly say that I won't be buying any of these at $5 a pop. It's just not in my personal budget. As much as I want to support Respawn, $5 for some skins that are just purely visual, they don't even alter the actual model of the weapon, is a bit much. I mean, $5 is exactly what you paid for Prime Titans, which included a brand new animation as well. I don't think a lot of people are going to look at this and see the value there. It's the same thing with the Titan War Paints, which are also limited, so you can only buy them until August 28th. Those are also $5 a piece for each of the Titans, or $25 for the entire bundle. So there you have it. The price point is out there. I personally think it's a bit steeper than they should have went, but I imagine a lot of you guys will still be willing to support Respawn. You can share your thoughts on that price point down in the comment section below. Now, they've added a few more game improvements, so we've got visual improvements for weapon in the Titan stats page. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure if it means more stats. They've got a new stats page for maps, which includes the tracking of Frontier Defense difficulty levels, and they also added more out-of-bounds triggers to Complex, so probably making Complex less of a manipulative map in terms of grapple gameplay, which could be good or bad depending on how much you like to grapple around the outer edges of that map. Let's go ahead and actually take a look at our Titan balance changes, starting with some general changes that are going to affect all of the Titans, all of the classes in the game. Ogre class Titans now have a baseline of 1 dash with a 10-second cooldown. Turbo Engine for both Scorch and Legion will now reduce the dash to 5 seconds. For all the other classes, it's going to behave the same. You're going to get an additional bar. So that is the max dash that a Ogre class Titan can see, is 1 dash with a 10-second cooldown, or you can get it with the 5-second cooldown with Turbo Engine. Overcore is now going to give 20% core meter, and Electric Smoke will unlock at 20% instead of 25%. Starting with Ronin, we've got sword block damage reduction reduced by 5%. I think that's a pretty good number to start with. Again, I think it's important that we don't nuke Ronin's capabilities as a sort of, glass tank, if you will. So I'm happy to see them starting small with that. Let's talk Scorch, though. This is it, guys. Scorch. So Scorch is now going to have the 1 dash charge with the 10-second cooldown that we mentioned. They've increased Firewall's width. We'll have to see by just how much. His kits have been modified. So apart from Firewall's width being modified and the Turbo Engine, the whole dash thing, they haven't actually changed anything going on with Scorch other than his kits. And I don't know that this is going to solve all the problems with Scorch. So let's start with Wildfire Launcher. It now increases the direct hit damage of the Thermite Launcher, and it also still increases the amount of fire spread. So we'll have to see just how much damage that gets. Scorch Earth is able to last a little bit longer. So if you run Scorched Earth on your core, it's going to linger, and it's going to do more fire damage over time. Tempered Plating now makes Scorch immune to crits and his own thermite damage. And they've also fixed the bug with Flame Core not igniting incendiary traps, so that bug has now been taken care of. Here's the issue. Wildfire Launcher, Scorched Earth, Tempered Plating, they all function in the same environment. They're all the same kit selection. So you have to choose one or the other. You're basically deciding, where do I want Scorch to not suck anymore, and where am I still okay with him sucking? Tempered Plating, making him completely immune to crits and his own thermite damage is great. Makes him an absolute tank in some instances, potentially, but it doesn't fix the fact that Thermite Launcher is still practically useless without Wildfire Launcher. Like, that buff to Wildfire Launcher is really powerful, but you have to pick and choose between the two. And I understand there's a big concern to make sure that you don't just buff a Titan into oblivion and he's all of a sudden a god among all the other Titans and you can't even kill him, he's so impenetrable. But I just think there's fundamental issues with Scorch that needed to be resolved outside of his kit selection. We'll have to see long term. I don't want to like shoot this all down and say this Scorch isn't going to benefit from this. I do think he'll benefit from it, but I do think you're going to have to be selected. You know, do you want to do damage? Okay, then you'll run Wildfire Launcher. Do you want Scorch to be more of a tank? Then you'll run Tempered Plating. Maybe what this will do, to look at the positive side of it, is actually make kits truly change the playstyle of Scorch. So you can go from Tempered Plating and being very tanky and looking to do like close quarters, dish damage, and be able to really soak in a lot of damage for your team and be aggressive. Maybe that's exactly what it'll do. Or maybe you just want to stay back and do that sort of long-range mortar stuff that I talked about with the Thermite Launcher. Then we'll be able to switch over to Wildfire Launcher. So that's the positive side of it. I still don't know that this is enough to like give him redemption, but maybe it's exactly what he needs. This is definitely one we're going to have to see and feel once we actually get in game. Let's move on and take a look at Legion. As we mentioned, Legion is a Ogre chassis, so he's going to be getting that 1-dash charge with the 10-second cooldown now. Hidden Compartment has been modified, so you still have the 2 power shot charges, but power shot damage is reduced by 15%. This was a much-needed change. Monarch actually seeing some modifications. The Exo 16 has its base magazine size increased to 40 rounds. They've reduced the strength of the slow effect of Energy Siphon, and they've also slightly reduced effectiveness of arc rounds against Vortex Shield and Heat Shield. Very happy about that. Multi-target missile system will no longer lock onto cloaked targets. That's one of the other things they're running with. All in all, I think some good changes. I think reducing the strength of the slow effect of Energy Siphon was a very smart move. That thing was just incredibly frustrating, and we definitely needed to be something done with arc rounds against Vortex and Heat Shield. So I'm very happy about that. That within itself has the potential to bring Scorch up a little bit now that he doesn't have to deal with his Heat Shield just being instantly evaporated by Monarch's arc rounds. They'll still probably be very effective, but at least it's been taken down a notch. Let's talk pilot balance. They're finally introducing some aim assist changes. So aim assist settings have been modified for assault rifles and SMGs, and ARs and SMGs now require you to be closer, aiming closer to your target, which means you'll actually have to have your reticle on your target more accurately before any ADS assist will actually take effect. So that's going to change the way ADS is working. They've also went ahead and reduced the overall effectiveness of ADS assist for specifically assault rifles. We're also seeing the Titan Hunter kit modified to give you 10 additional Titan meter from damage instead of just 10% Titan meter on Titan kills. Phase Shift is finally getting that 1 charge but recharges faster alteration, which is nice. Speaking of SMGs again, medium and long range damage has been significantly reduced with SMGs. They're trying to finally, it looks like, group SMGs into their own category. They actually have a little bit of a footnote here. They say one of the positive changes they saw in the high time to kill playlist was the increase of weapon diversity. Maybe we should keep high time to kill around? Probably not. It's their hope that between the aim assist nerf and the SMG nerf, we'll see weapon diversity increased across all 3 platforms. For the G2, they've done nothing other than reduce its fire rate. That's it. It's got a reduced fire rate. There's no doubt that this will make the weapon less potent. Is it the change we need to take the G2 down from its throne? I guess we'll have to wait and find out on that one. The DMR, interestingly enough, is getting some changes. They've reduced its fire rate. The reason they say they've done this is because they feel that the reduced fire rate simply made the gun feel better since it stabilizes between shots more readily. Basically, you no longer have to manually stabilize the DMR. You can just go ahead and do it on your own. I think on PC, that was more of an issue that I've heard discussed. Let me know if you're happy about that as a PC player down in the comment section below. Flatline is actually seeing a nerf, interestingly enough. They've slightly reduced damage at medium range. They also would like to point out that it still has the best medium range damage of any assault rifle. So I guess they're just trying to put that thing on a more even playing field. I don't know. Does anyone use the Flatline? I see that thing once in a blue moon. I wasn't sure that it needed to be modified, but apparently it did, and they went ahead and do that. The Archer Rocket will no longer lock on to cloaked targets, and the Smart Pistol will no longer lock on to cloaked targets. So the Cloak is now a hard counter to Smart Pistol. Who would have ever thought that was going to happen? Sidearms are getting a slew of changes. They're actually using the changes that we saw inside of the high time to kill playlist for the P2, the Wingman Elite, and Mozambique. They brought them over, so this is essentially going to bring down the power level of all these weapons. They're saying this is because pilots can now carry a secondary weapon. Don't really think this was necessary. I don't think we need to go about nerfing pistols just because everybody can carry a secondary weapon. I know a lot of people are concerned about the effectiveness of the Mozambique, but man, I mean, they're sidearms, you know? I don't know. I was fine with the way they were. It's just changes to me that weren't really affecting the meta. People using sidearms to me is more diversity. I'd rather have a guy occasionally switch to his Mozambique and mow me down than just see nothing but endless R2s. So I don't know. We'll see how much that affects it. Hopefully it's not much. I mean, in the high time to kill playlist, a lot of the pistols still felt pretty effective. So probably not the most devastating change to sidearms. Melee is finally getting some modifications. Melee lunge range reduction. We're also seeing lunge time and melee hit frames change from 0.3 seconds to 0.2 seconds. This is supposed to help people firing weapons, particularly automatic weapons, get extra shots in before the lunge completes. I mean, any weapon in reality, right? You're getting additional time. So if you're spamming the trigger, you should supposedly be benefited from that really small window in frames. Non-lunge melee attacks now have a range increase. So whenever you get that whiff where your character kind of swipes his fist and punches, where he's not actually getting a lunge, this is supposed to make that a little bit more consistent, so you actually hit your target when it looks like you should have. I'm actually okay with that change. If melee is going to stick around, we need that to be more consistent, so we don't have these stupid whiffs when you try and, you know, punch a guy when you're standing behind him, for example. That's really the biggest thing here, though, is melee lunge range being reduced. That's going to be the change, right? That's going to be the big one where people can't melee you from, you know, 6 feet or around a corner anymore. We'll have to see just how much of a reduction we actually get, and if that really does change the potency of melee in the middle of gunfights. Yeah, I'm just happy to see them doing something to it. How much that's going to affect the current melee meta, we'll have to wait and see. Outside of that, guys, a few bug fixes. Unfortunately, no bug fix for Tone's particle wall issue. They fixed the volume issue with Wargames, so we don't have to all, like, say, rip headphone users on stream every single day. And they've also flagged Advocate Gift Titan Nose Art, so you can actually unlock them when opening Advocate Gifts. They think they also changed what you got. Fixed issue with perishable nose arts not showing up on Titans correctly. So some small bug fixes. This is a pretty big list of patch notes. Probably one of the biggest ones we've had in a long time in terms of weapon modifications. You know, the changes to like the Archer, the Smart Pistol. Yeah, a lot of interesting changes. Let's just put it that way. I'm happy to see a Scorch buff. I really am. I'm happy to see Ogre Chassis Titans in general get some sort of a modification. I think that's a cool idea, giving them one dash. It's going to be interesting to see how this sort of ripples and affects everything going on in the Titan meta right now. I mean, Legion having a dash by default, that's pretty good, right? I mean, I ran Turbo Cannon Legion for a long time for a lot of good reasons. So having one of those by default with that 10-second cooldown, and you know, that's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see how Scorch plays out. I really hope it's, you know, I'm trying to take that positive approach here and not just be upset because I did want to see more things happen with Scorch, you know, and say, run Tempered Plating if you want to be a tank, and run Wildfire Launcher if you want to run DPS. Maybe that's exactly what we need. Maybe that'll make Scorch really fun to play on the two different, you know, play styles, and maybe it'll be kick-ass. We'll find out tomorrow. Fortunately, it's not going to take very long. Feel free to let me know all your thoughts, guys, about the patch notes, about the price of those upcoming Elite Weapon skins and Titan skins. Let me know all that stuff, everything you have to say about this update and its patch notes down in the comment section below. I will see you guys tomorrow for Frontier Defense. I'll be going live on Twitch with Butterbar, Iniquity, and Jaredude as we make our way through Frontier Defense for the very first time. Check out some of the changes to Titans and all of the different balance over the next couple days. There'll be a lot of videos following this patch. And, you know, we'll talk about the updated state of the game as time goes by with this DLC to see just how much the meta changes and how much this influences the long-term health of Titanfall 2 multiplayer. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, remember to play smart, remember to play to challenge yourself, but most importantly, remember to play for fun.